So why do I think there is a big problem with the modern new games? Apart from the agenda that they keep trying to push and it always fails, and people simply don't give a shit about this, and they simply want a game, a game that has passion and have a vision. But most new games simply lack both of those, and they're afraid to take risks. Well, apart from the agenda that will never work, by trying to appeal to everybody, you appeal to no one. I mean, if you want to play a horror game, fine, just make a horror game. But don't try to include something that is not related to the overall game, or trying to push something just because a very small minority, and I mean a very small percentage of them, says that. It literally won't work. I mean, I saw plenty of studios, gaming studios and movie studios, where they simply make either remakes or readaptation of all movies or all games, and trying to push something that is not related to it. I mean, people just want to see faithful adaptation, and it's not just those remakes or all movies that are remade. They simply want faithful adaptations, simple as that. I mean, there's nothing wrong adding, I don't know, better combats or better stories, but as long as it's part of what the faithful adaptation was, then I don't see nothing wrong with that. But by trying to, enforce certain things, it will never work. I mean, I usually play all the games from 2005 all the way to 2015, because if you ask me, probably those were the best years where studios weren't afraid to make changes. They weren't afraid to take risks. They had an imagination. They had a passion for it, and they just went with it, and nobody forced upon them to do something that they don't want to do it. Because I'm pretty sure even nowadays there are plenty of talented people, but they cannot do it because a very small minority says so. I really don't get it. I mean, why would you keep losing money from a business perspective and again and again? And we're not talking about a few millions. There's hundreds of millions or maybe even billions across all those years. So if you ask me, you should just let the studios do whatever they want to do and not be afraid to do it, and try not to push something that simply majority don't want. I mean, you see very few games nowadays, especially the past few years, are great. Maybe you see once in a while, but the others, either simply they lack vision and they keep repeating the same mistake every year. And we're not talking about small studios, we're talking about big studios. I mean, look at games like Concord. I don't know what that shit was about. 300 million for what? They lost.
Maybe they got lost. They've been hauling lumber along this road for 20 years.
I mean, with that amount of money, I don't know, they could have spent on several studios to just remake all games, and that would have made a much bigger profit. They could have just give some money to One Punch Man and make a better season, for example. That would still make them more money. And it's not just Concord, it's also, I think it was the new release of Call of Duty. I don't play shooters unless they have a good story. they're trying to change the narrative because they simply lack, imagination or passion to do it. They simply release the same game with a different title each year. You spend, I don't know, $60 or maybe even more, and it doesn't give you that many hours of enjoyment. I mean, take Assassin's Creed as another example. The first few games were great. I played all of them. But after the fourth or fifth, it became just a big, generic RPG that didn't feel like an Assassin's Creed anymore. And they simply, Ubisoft simply were milking the money out of people. And people obviously had high hopes for it. But they simply didn't do any major changes to make it better. They just made it worse each year. And looking at the new one, well, that's another shit. And there are, many more examples. So yeah, if I rather play new games, I rather play games that are made by indie studios. At least those are not afraid to take risks. They're not afraid to make changes. They're not afraid to change certain things. And they're also not being pushed to appeal to everybody. And they can take whatever risk. I mean, look at Wukong, yeah? That was a great Chinese game. Look at Warhammer. It was made by Russians. Obviously, you cannot expect from Russians to put an agenda, but that was a great game. And how many more big AAA games you saw the past few years? Not many. Cyberpunk, maybe the Baldur's Gate. So yeah, those AAA studios have plenty of money, but they lack simply vision, talent. I mean, look at, what was that game? Starfield? That was another shit. They spent so much money on it, and they made a big empty RPG, and even that, it wasn't even finished. So my advice would be for the people to not spend their money on especially games that are released in the Western countries. Just buy them on sale, unless it's a really great game, and don't listen to, I don't know, those media outlets like IGN or shit like that. I feel like those are simply paid by the studios to give a high note, high score, while the game is shit. Better listen to, I don't know, people like Penguin Z or just Asmongold. At least, they're honest about what they say, and they're not paid by those studios. Or in general, any streamer that you know and is honest and is not, somebody that would, alright, will give you $3,000 and just say all the good things about it. Yeah, but some of the newer games, especially made by the bigger studios in Western countries, are simply, it's simply not worth spending that much money. Buy them on sale, or simply don't buy them at all if they simply don't realize their mistakes. I mean, how many games are you actually waiting for in the upcoming years? GTA, Witcher, maybe the new Elder Scrolls. So they're not that many great games that are, and you don't even know if those games are going to be great in the first place. And they're bollocks, now I'm blind. Now I play games like, you know, shooter games like Wolfenstein, Fear, Singularity, Time Shift, and so on. But those were all games, and each one at least had something unique about them. You know, they weren't entirely the same thing. You know, it wasn't copied. All the things weren't copied from one game, just passed into the other. And those were mostly,
Hey there.
you know,
Take a gander.
small studio games,
Greetings. Looking to buy?
or at least medium-sized studio games. But they were doing great. They were doing better than what, I don't know. Probably from 10, 15 big games in a year, probably only one may do very well. And most of these games, as I said, you know, they're either from Japan, they're either from China or Russia. Very few are actually from the Western countries.
Show me your wares. Show me your wares. So long.
Come closer, stranger.
Let me hold your sword.
Maybe Lars will bring some hair help.
Foreigner, watch your step.
You know, what happened to the times where we spent, I don't know, playing 8-9 hours a game, but at least, you know, for those 8-9 hours you would really enjoy that game.
You were wraith from more.
Something I've always wondered. What'll you witchers do once there are no battles? Factions or giants around?
And yeah, that's another major issue, is games that are not fully released in a good working state. It feels like everything is rushed, and apart from the fact that they're not unique anymore, they're simply half-made from all the point of view. So what are they gonna do? They hype it up, have high price, you pay for that, and you just regret it later.